Hello everyone, this is the second animation diary. Now, I meant to do animation diaries weekly, but unfortunately that's not possible. However, I did find out how to record these frequently in a place that's very nice and quiet, which is great. For this animation diary, I am going to go over what software I use for animation. So essentially, the sketch stage, the cleanup, the coloring, etc. This software I use isn't the absolute type of software that you need to use. It actually depends on your workflow, what software you find is easier to use, etc. So that being said, well, I will mention which type of programs I use for my animations. The software I use might change in the future. Along with that, I might make an update video to the software that I work with. But take this type of software I'm bringing up as a recommendation. Not something that you have to use, but just some ideas of what you might use. There are also other videos on YouTube about other types of software. One final thing before I get started, the software does not define the animation per se. It's similar to what software you use for coloring. What matters is your skill. You could have the best software in the world for animation, but if you're not good at animating, you're gonna struggle. And the better you get at it, the more you can do with whatever software you're using. So with that out of the way, I am going to go over the different types of software I use for my animations. For my sketching process, storyboards, thumbnails, roughs, anything that has to do with planning, I normally use a combination of paper, of traditional sketching, and Flash. I prefer to use Flash because it's faster for me to just sketch out an animation. However, I do not enjoy Flash for making an animation from start to finish. Some people enjoy using Flash for their entire project. I'm just not one of them. I do not like how I can't draw a straight line without the program deciding for me how my line should look like. And the type of artwork that I do, the type of coloring style and inking that I do, I can't do it in Flash. I prefer Photoshop for that. But if I need a quick animation like that, something like proof of concept to show off, Flash is great. The version of Flash doesn't matter. You could use any version of Flash and still get similar results. The type of version of Flash I use is Flash CS6, I believe. I could be wrong, I'll have to double check. I am planning to move away from Flash into another software that I can either pay flat, like a flat retail price, or have it be free. Either way is fine, I just cannot keep paying for subscriptions. Now, I mentioned earlier that I use Photoshop for cleanup, so I'm gonna talk more about that. I am a heavy Photoshop user. I've been using it for like 10 years, I think. Normally, I used it for digital painting, but now I use it for cleaning up my animations. This is what I use for both inking and coloring and doing the backgrounds. For animation, it's great, but it's a heavy program, so you're going to need a very good computer to handle it. The version of Photoshop I use is Photoshop CS6. I also have an older version of Photoshop, which is Photoshop CS5. It has animation, but it doesn't have a timeline. I forgot what it is, but it's basically, you control the frames a little bit differently. I am going to figure out how to take advantage of that so I wouldn't have to pay for Photoshop anymore, because I have an older version of Photoshop, but the newer version, which is CS6, that I have to pay for monthly and I need to save money. But For professional use, for animation, it works great. You can also go very far when you're coloring backgrounds, when you're coloring the characters, when you're putting effects, etc. It's a really robust program. Now, the last program that I use isn't really something I use for a main project, but I like to mess with it once in a while because I want to slowly transition from Flash to a different program. In that program, one of those programs is actually Krita. Krita is a free software for painting, and it also has animation tools in it. They're not as robust as Flash, but they do get the job done. I personally like to use Krita to make very simple GIFs because I haven't figured out how to take full advantage of it for bigger programs. Hopefully, I can work around that in the future. Krita is also great for people who want to try out animation for the first time but are not sure if they're going to like it, and they do not want to pay monthly or at all for animation software. They just want to try it to see how it goes. And you could start making small projects on it. I recommend something better than Krita, but that's the way it is now, it works pretty well. The version of Krita I use is version 3.2, I think. From what I'm aware, 3.1 and up, those are the versions that support animation. Other than that, that's all I have to say for now. I do plan to make future videos about these softwares, explaining them more in depth, and hopefully other types of software. So for anyone watching this, if you guys know of any other types of software that are similar or work better, any type of animation software, maybe even pixel art or for just painting, just leave it in a comment so I could look into it. I'm actually very curious because I am trying to transition from Adobe, and I'm looking into these different programs because I want to make big projects, but I also want to save money. So not only would you be helping me out, you would also be helping other people that are in a similar situation that I'm in. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.